The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus said to his disciples, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in them bears much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered, thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples." The Gospel of the Lord. One of my favourite images in the New Testament is this concept of abiding or living in God, and God abiding and living in us. It's mentioned several times, including in John's Gospel, but also in John's letters and other New Testament letters. Can we picture any deeper connection than being united with God by means of God dwelling in our hearts, living in them, making a home in us, and us in God? This is the most profound concept of communion in the widest sense of that word. We're all invited to be disciples and friends of Jesus. The word disciple means one who learns. So our primary role is to learn from Jesus, to get to know him, to be taught something about his words, his message, and to observe reverently what he nurtures as his deeply embedded attitudes and values, so that we might capture and nurture that same spirit, that same inner strength and drive as our teacher possesses by his very nature. Our gospel this week is a great image of the vine and the branches. It shows the deep connection that we have and are called to have with Jesus, to become so much part of us that Jesus actually lives in us and we live in God. We abide in each other. Further, we gain our source, our meaning, our fruitfulness from that connection to Christ. Without Jesus, our efforts are misdirected and fruitless. Connected to Jesus, our actions and efforts can bear much fruit by God working in and through our lives. The connection of this image to the vine and branches can't help but highlight the importance of Eucharist. We take Jesus into ourselves, and he becomes part of us, so that we in turn will become more like Christ in our words and actions and lives. Inspired by these wonderful readings this weekend, to me the following things would be a wonderful rule of life. First and foremost, prayer and connection to God, who is the source of everything good. Attentiveness and attention to what God is doing in our lives. Reflection on our lives and our actions, to honestly and openly and regularly look back at our decisions and our actions and values and see how they're matching up with God's love. Stillness, to allow God to be present to us and speak to our inner listening hearts. And finally, oneness. We're called to unity with God and with one another. I am the vine, says the Lord. You are the branches. Whoever abides in Jesus and Jesus in them will bear much fruit in their lives.